What are your opinions on having kids? I'm 29 and found out I have LAM, which is based off excess estrogen. So if I get pregnant I could potentially have a lung collapse, etc. I thought it would make me sad to be told I should never get pregnant, but I kind of took it well and was like, yay, okay lol, guess I'm not having kids, life goes on. Then they said I had to get off birth control and basically whoever I have with from now on needs to use condoms, and I legit cried for 3 days straight. Clearly my priorities aren't up to par to be a parent. I love children, but do not personally want to have any of my own. I also support people's decision to have children themselves, as long as they are able to care for them. I do however have an issue with people who have more than 2 to 3 kids. Overpopulation is a real issue we are facing, and conscious family planning has to become the norm, or one day the future will be very grim. The earth can only sustain so much, and a big reason I will be fine without children is that it is the single most significant thing I can do for the planet. Being pro-adoption helps, if my husband and I change our minds in the future. To all non-Irish, what do you think of Ireland? When I think of Ireland, I think of the Dublin whiskey fire. A fire at a warehouse that held about 1.2 million liters of whiskey caused the barrels to rupture, sending flaming whiskey down the street. Though the fire itself didn't injure anyone, 24 people were hospitalized and 13 died due to alcohol poisoning from drinking the whiskey out of the gutter. And also Michael Flatley. When I was there I noticed the accents are much lighter than I expected. Far fewer leprechaun-sounding mofos than I anticipated. If magic were to exist anywhere, it would be Ireland. It's beautifully mysterious or mysteriously beautiful, I can't remember which. /Irish, the language, makes me feel like I've forgotten how to speak English. /sausage rolls rule. After wanting to go there for half my life, I finally went there in August. Best trip I've ever done, basically a road tour from Dublin over to the west coast and the cliffs of Moher and then down the south coast and around back up to Dublin, over 8 days. It's such a beautiful country, with such hospitable people, great music and surprisingly good food. That impressed me since I've always been under the impression that Ireland is kinda like my country, Sweden, in a sense that we don't have that much of a food culture of our own. But, I'm for sure going to go there again. In Ireland they know how to love you, people smile while I stroll past their farms, and when your Irish boy tires of you, you're allowed to shoot him in the knees. But in all seriousness, a mix of dairy girls, Sally Rooney, Dublin's tech tax evasion companies, funny American stereotypes and the Irish tourists I spent a few days with in my native Amsterdam. Ireland calls to me. I've never been there, and I have no ancestry there, yet, it calls to me. Whenever I see any documentary or TV show or movie set in Ireland, I feel drawn to that ancient land. A land of high kings and rich, epic poetry. Centuries of history, and battles, and songs, and legends. I don't want to visit Ireland, I want to live there. When I visited there, I found the people very warm and friendly. I'd definitely go again. The stereotype that was true. The land is beautifully green. The stereotype that was false. There aren't a bunch of redheads everywhere. I found most folks to be fair-skinned with dark hair, but maybe that's just the part of the country I visited. It's very pretty. I love the villages, the farmlands and the rural feel of it all. It's gorgeous and it's one place I'd love to live. I'd love to learn the culture and history a lot more as well. Which word is always funny to say? I don't know why, at almost 70 years old, I just can't say quad. Wipe without laughing uncontrollably. I've always found it funny. Lake Titicaca, oh Lake Titicaca, it's between Bolivia and Peru. Lake Titicaca, oh Lake Titicaca with waters tranquil and blue. Lake Titicaca, yes Lake Titicaca, why do we sing of its fame? Lake Titicaca, yes Lake Titicaca cause we really like saying its name Titicaca. NJ resident here, please come and visit Ho Ho Kush, Manyun Kachunk, Cheesequake, Buxshootum, Love Ladies, or Buttsville. Peculiar for me but English is not my first language so it sounds really odd when I say it. Pek u il iar and quat. Daudumopolis erst 2 syllables pronounced to the last name of a doctor I went to. How often have you decided to not post something because you don't want to attract trolls? Quite a bit. I find some subs won't be as receptive if you don't share the same opinion or fit their demographic. I don't want people in my inbox or comments trying to debate me because I stated I'm a woman or minority, provided facts on human rights or simply thought that new flavor of Doritos was absolutely revolutionary. Never TBH. If having my own viewpoints and not forcing it onto others triggers them so, that's their issue not mine. Just don't feed the trolls if you get any. Being silenced because of fearing trolls is why they do it TBH, and if they can't silence you they try to make you emotional so they can go lol ha ha she has feelings to their equally as silly buddies. I've been called every name under the sun, I just don't care anymore. Pretty often. I've given up arguing. I state my point, usually along the lines of trans people deserve human rights if we're gonna argue. Back it up with a stat or debunk a myth or something, and then leave it alone. Like, trans people deserve to use the restroom in peace. They're actually more likely to be attacked in a restroom than to assault anyone. Then, no matter what replies are posted, I don't answer. I just up and down vote, and report when I need to. Bisexual woman here. I don't tend to post comments about LGBT+ issues outside of certain safe subreddits or LGBT+ specific ones. This is because, for my own mental health, I don't feel like dealing with homophobic comments. Although I'm normally fine with debate, I don't feel like debating my right to exist. Never that I can recall. I don't tend to want to post stuff where it's unwanted or controversial unless I'm happy to fight about it, and I keep my social media accounts pretty partitioned. Any trolling I've dealt with on Reddit has been more funny than threatening. I post about 1/10 things I think about posting. It's kind of funny because people who never knew you in real life assume the worst of you while putting you in a position to defend yourself. Thing is I would rather not read a bunch of dumb, than post something I can just figure out on my own. I posted once on the family sub and the trolls came out strong. Deleted the post after about 50 women going batshit over me wanting advice on a friend that treats her kid like garbage. I comment more than I post nowadays. And I left the family blog real quick. I was once very cautious with FB, but I'm out of it. People there have become too toxic and cared nothing but clout in themselves. Too many selfish and trolls there. So I'm here now, just scrolling, leaving small traces of thoughts. Most of the time, I tend to stick to this sub lately, since trolls and dimwits who get salty about being modded here will frequently follow me to other subs to wreak havoc out there. Rather than making that kind of mess for other mods, I try to keep to myself. How did you manage to care less about what people think of you? Age is a big one. Also being content with yourself, not relying on other people's validation. If you have people in your life that make feel crappy after being with them, get rid of them. Life is much easier when you're content with who you are. I'm a bit of a hermit. I hate being forced or expected to do things when I don't feel like it. When I do choose to socialize, it's awesome because I really want to do it. It's way more enjoyable and I feel overall more confident. How to be content? I think from focusing on what you want to you, what you should do, for you, that would make you feel good. By realizing that almost everyone you meet in life is temporary. Those who remain by your side will accept you for who you are, and if they don't, why do you want them around anyways? It's not easy to stop searching for others' validation, but it is easy to start questioning whether your sacrifices are worth it. Ask yourself, is what you're doing going to matter in a month, a year, a decade? The answer is most likely no, as no one has the time to remember everything about another person. Everyone is too busy living their own lives and following their own agendas. So why don't you start living for yourself too? When I saw that those same people didn't give a half how I felt about anything, let alone how I felt about them, I realized they weren't worth the time I spent mourning over their dislike or indifference. I admit, I frequently have to remind myself of this truth, but it still remains a truth. Focus on what you feel about yourself. Learn to love yourself. And if you don't like things about yourself that are not simply skin deep, explore whether you will change. But do it for you. You're the one who matters. That's why it's called _self_worth. I think it's one thing to acknowledge this about yourself and another to actually achieve it in your life. First you have to realize what you don't do because you worry about how others will react or how they would perceive you. Then you just practice. Make a list of things that you hold yourself back from doing. Then do them. It's good to surround yourself with new people who will encourage you along the way. Over time you will care less and less. I still care, but compared to me from 5 years ago, I'm a different person.